Welcome back to Employment Law After Hours. Today we have a great episode for you as we're going to be conducting an interview with Robert Ratliff, who's an immigration attorney in Cleveland, Ohio. Robert has really been spending the last couple of weeks staying on top of, studying, understanding all the changes that are coming to immigration law, including the H-1B surcharge that was issued by proclamation very recently. So Robert's going to be able to give more detail on that surcharge that's going to apply to employers and some practical guidance moving forward. Stay tuned for that interview now. Well, welcome, Robert. It's a pleasure to have you on Employment Law After Hours. I'm really glad to have you on the podcast today to talk about H-1B visas and immigration.
Thanks. I appreciate the invite. It's a chaotic situation that we're all struggling with right now.
So, Robert, why don't you start with just a little bit of background about yourself, about your area of practice, and maybe where people can find you.
Sure. Well, I am at the Cleveland office of Brennan, Manna, and Diamond, and you can find us there through our bmdllc.com website. I've been doing immigration work and federal criminal work for almost 30 years. I most recently served as a U.S. immigration judge back before getting fired as an immigration judge became a popular pastime.
What does being an immigration judge entail?
A tremendous amount of paperwork. It's an interesting job. You do not have the freedom that you think you're going to have making those decisions. You do serve at the discretion of the Attorney General, so you're constantly, this is what the rules are, this is what to implement, this is how you decide in these situations. And so that was trying. I mean, that was a difficult part of the position.
I can only imagine, especially in this day and age and with all the fluidity, to say the least, going on with immigration in the United States, which really kind of brings us to our topic at hand today, which is recent changes at the federal level concerning the H-1B visas. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, we recently got a proclamation from the president, and that's kind of the way immigration law has worked since about 2001, is we just go from executive order to proclamation to other just random, seemingly random decisions without any congressional involvement. This most recent proclamation issued a $100,000 filing fee for any new H-1B applications. Now, this just kind of came out of the blue. It was accompanied by essentially no guidance from either USCIS, Citizenship and Immigration Services, or the Department of State that does the form processing. So everybody was left wondering, what does this mean? The reality is we still don't know 100% what it means. There are some exemptions that were built into the proclamation for universities, possibly for medical related entities, hospitals for doctors and things like that, and some highly skilled positions. So those things are in the proclamation, but there's no real guidance for it. There's no guidance for how you even apply for those exemptions or those waivers for this fee. We were left with the situation of who does this fee even apply to, and does it apply to new or continuing H-1B visas? Anecdotally, I got lots and lots of calls from clients, especially clients from India. The reports were that the cost of airfares to get back into the country before this $100,000 fee went into place were, just created chaos at the airports. What we believe at the current moment is that this is only going to apply to new H-1B applications filed after that effective date of the proclamation. There is still some discussion as to whether or not this will apply to new H-1B visas for individuals that are already in the country. That's key if you have someone that's working in your organization that is on maybe in a student visa or the OPT portion of their student visa, and you anticipate them adjusting to H-1B. It is not apparently going to apply to individuals that currently have H-1Bs, may leave the United States and come back, or may renew their H-1Bs, or may be renewing H-1Bs while they have another application pending. It appears that those people are going to be exempt from this new fee.
And one of the initial questions I had for you is, you said this came from a proclamation, and for all intents and purposes, that has the full force and effect of a traditional regulation or law, at least in this case, right?
It does. And one of the caveats to that, and we've seen it recently with some other applications. The filing fees for many of these types of applications are authorized or at the discretion of either the Attorney General or the administration, so they could set those filing fees. USCIS is technically not a taxpayer-funded entity in that it is funded by the filing fees it collects through these applications and filing fees. So the ability to make these sudden changes does exist. That's in part, I think, why we haven't seen the nationwide injunctions yet in some of the litigation, because this does kind of fall into that area where the administration does have a lot of discretion.
So we're looking at it would probably, at this point, likely take an act of Congress to maybe put some limits on those fees if potentially they were able to exercise jurisdiction over that under the Constitution.
Yeah, or, we've always looked to Congress for some sort of comprehensive immigration reform, and we've never seen it. One of the things that Congress is in control of is the limitations on the number of H-1Bs every year, and we always run out of H-1Bs annually. But that limitation, the 66,000 a year, has been the number, I don't know, for over 30 years, because it's been the number the whole time I've been doing it. So that's something that Congress would have to act on, and that may have a significant impact as well.
So, I mean, obviously, $100,000 filing fee is pretty extensive. Do you happen to know off the top of your head right now what the filing fee was before the $100,000 proclamation went into effect?
Yeah, and this $100,000 proclamation is on top of the already existing filing fees. So if you are currently filing an H-1B application, the filing fees are around $1,200. They just changed some. Nonprofits have a reduced fee. I think it's $460, and then premium processing is $2,800 and $2,805. But those fees remain untouched. This is just a surcharge on top of it, as the proclamation indicates, to protect American workers in that tech space.
So obviously, I mean, those initial filing fees that remain in effect before the surcharge, is primarily nominal to a lot of the corporations of America and hospital systems and things like that. But $100,000 can begin to have a pretty big impact on companies, especially those that really rely on foreign workers to help fulfill shortages from a lack of U.S. talent or a lack of U.S. citizen training in those areas.
Yeah, and one of the things with the H-1B is you have to pay that prevailing wage, and that'll get into some of the things that the Department of Labor is doing on these H-1Bs right now as well. But if you are paying that prevailing wage, a lot of these are highly skilled workers, so you're $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year jobs. Those workers may be willing to cover that on behalf of their employer, but the employer cannot seek reimbursement from the employee for that, because that is effectively a reduction in their wage. So that eliminates that. So it goes directly to the employer, and that's something that they can't get back from the employee.
So I know, one of the areas, and I think you had indicated that we're not quite sure about the specifics of this surcharge and who it may apply to, but I know one of the areas that our firm typically deals with is this healthcare sector. And one of the first concerns that popped up is we already have a physician shortage in America. Is this going to make that situation even worse?
I think it is. I mean, the administration can even put in something in place that says, no, we're going to specifically exempt medical professionals. It doesn't exist now. It's on a case-by-case basis, and there's not even a clear way to apply for. But it is a deterrent to individuals that may be thinking about coming here. If you're a highly skilled doctor and educated in the United States, you can pretty much go wherever you want in the world with that education. And I read an article this morning, I don't know if you've seen it, but China, to combat this, is now offering $700,000 in a housing allowance for technical workers that want to come to work in China.
I think I saw that article, and I read a similar one last week that essentially said, tech folks out in California said Silicon Valley doesn't exist without the H-1B. It has been so instrumental in really developing the high-end tech of America that has really influenced the world, especially for the last 30 years. But in reality, we might begin to see a shift to some other countries taking over as a result of additional H-1B restrictions.
Yeah, and I tend to look at it from a talent pool. And certainly we have talented individuals here in the United States that can do and work those jobs. But the United States has the ability to attract the most talent, not just talented enough, but the most talented. And when we get away from attracting the most talented to our shores, that really impacts all the economic growth this country has experienced going back to post-World War II.
That's a great point. And I really feel for as well, the small businesses or maybe the tech startups or the rural health systems that really relied on H-1Bs to either get off the ground because they can't afford the top talent right now, right, that's in America, or they can't really attract U.S. physicians physicians to want to move to a rural part of a state to provide medicine. They relied heavily on those H-1Bs to make sure that a lot of those positions were held. But those startups, those small health systems, not going to be able to afford the $100,000 surcharge.
Yeah, and we put ourselves in a position economically where we may take some of those startups that historically, I mean, you look at the Fortune 500 now, how many of them were US-based startups, just 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But we may put those positions in those new startups in a place where they're going to offshore all that tax. So then not only do we lose that startup company in the United States, we lose the tax revenue from those people that are working there, all the benefits that go along with that. Because we've seen during COVID that, a lot of people were able to work just as well from home.
So, I mean, and then if we're able to say work remotely with somebody and they're able to work from their home country, we don't have to worry about the H-1B, but they're providing guidance or contract services to American companies. But we're missing out then on the benefits of their tax revenue from living in America, purchasing a home in America, getting taxes based on wages in America for those individuals. So just the consequences do seem to be ever reaching.
Right. And it opens the door, like we just seen with the Chinese articles. It opens the door for other countries to step into that void that we're going to create. And I think that's going to be a real issue. The other aspect of this is what the Department of Labor has announced as well. And I don't know how much of that you've looked into, but they announced that Project Firewall, they're calling it. And the Department of Labor has essentially said they're going to go start targeting H-1B employers, going through the labor certifications, looking at employers and coordinating that with looking at who's getting laid off. And I suspect we're starting to see some of the ramifications of the government modernizing its computer systems. We heard a lot of talk about, from Elon Musk when he first got involved with the Doge thing about modernizing the systems. Now we're seeing these agencies start to share data, start to communicate with each other, start to look at, both sides. I'm seeing that also in the asylum context, where now we're seeing continuous vetting in immigration applications. Just the other day, we've seen another individual who was put into denaturalization proceedings. So they're trying to strip his citizenship based on things that they've now said, you didn't disclose this before. You were a member of this group and you didn't disclose it. And so we're seeing those kind of things pair up. I don't know that they're using AI to make those connections or what they're doing, but it seems very evident that is going on.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it for years in healthcare when it came to data mining, with utilizing technology and really data to determine bad actors in healthcare. And not necessarily saying we're going to use it to stem out bad actors in immigration, but just to say that the use and collection of data, then as you said, maybe using AI to really analyze all of that data can bring out results that otherwise we've never really seen before.
Yeah, and you've seen it in the asylum context with all the headlines of the social media posts that, maybe were pro-Palestinian or anti-Israel. And regardless of what your take on the situation is, you clearly could see that the administration was using those social media posts, mining that information and using it in the immigration proceedings. So that's been very evident.
Bringing things back into the employment world too, and we might be, some of the listeners might be saying, well, hey, this is good, right? We have U.S. citizens who are now going to be forced to be hired, and we covered that briefly to say that, oftentimes countries, sure, they might even prefer to hire U.S. citizens, but we just typically don't have the talent pool in those areas to really attract that talent. And the number of people we need in this country to fill those roles is so great that we have really no choice but to look outside the country sometimes as well. But I mean, we start limiting things like the H-1Bs and, we're not able to bring over that talent. That also has a downstream effect to lower level employees who may work kind of below those H-1B visas. So for example, if a rural health system can't bring in a physician on an H-1B, now we can't employ the nurses there. We can't employ the administrative staff. So there could be, and ultimately the rural hospital may have to face closure for a lack of physician resources. And we've started to see that over the last couple of months as well, with the rural health systems really starting to struggle over some administrative changes. And, I do fear that, once you kind of you pull the plug a little bit on all these employees and all this talent, we may not be quite aware of what the downstream consequences could look like.
And recently I was looking at a case particularly in that field, and the issue was that this entity was partnered with a major teaching hospital as well. So they couldn't bring in, if they can't bring in their H-1B medical professional, then the teaching hospital doesn't have a supervising physician or doctor to run their clinical programs. And what's the impact of that? Now we've got doctors or training doctors that don't have places to go get their clinical experience. That's going to be a huge huge problem. And in the rural areas, especially, it's already hard to find, just your basic doctor. It doesn't exist anymore.
Especially one who's originating from the United States, right? They're like, hey, look, I went and got this medical degree, typically in a university that's in a major city, and they oftentimes don't want to leave that city atmosphere once they're in it. And that's why we see so many, previously at least, saw a lot of grants and opportunities to attract talent to the rural areas. But we're either going to have to, not welcome, but accept the fact that some rural health systems might face significant economic difficulty, or otherwise increase those incentives to try to attract American talent to those rural areas.
Yeah, and I think, the proclamation, when you read the president's proclamation, and even when you read the first couple pieces of guidance that came out of that, it's very, very clear that they did not really consider the healthcare system impacts of this decision. It spends so much time talking about the tech sector and programming and those kind of jobs. And those kind of jobs may or may not be there in the future anyways with the AI and all those sorts of things. But the doctors and the dentists and the nurses, those are clearly going to be there. It's also very obvious that there's just not a lot of forethought put into that.
Obviously, does this surcharge apply at this moment? Does it apply to any other types of visas other than the H-1B?
It doesn't. They've only put it in for the H-1B so far. And there are. And I think one of the things that companies are going to have to look at, especially multinational companies are going to have to look at, is the L visa program. The Ls allow for intra-company transfers. You can transition from L to something more permanent. So that's going to be the first place that the multinational tech companies are going to go to. They're just going to go straight to that. For other individuals and in the medical sector as well, it's much, much more limited. Now, physicians with high skill sets or, that are internationally recognized for their abilities. Same with engineers. They may qualify under some of the EB2 applications, which are the employment-based applications. So the EB1s are for outstanding professionals, the EB2 for advanced degree professionals with significant experience. The problem with those are permanent only. So if someone wants to come and work in the United States only temporarily and wants to go back, that's not what those visas are for. Those are for permanent.
But is there anything else you think we really should be covering, or you would want the viewers out there to know regarding the situation and the surcharge?
I think the biggest thing that we're going to see coming out of the surcharge, we're going to see additional guidance. And so staying on top of that guidance is going to be key. I think the biggest thing we're going to see out of the surcharge, though, is what the Department of Labor is going to do with the investigations. That's going to be a very big problem for a lot of companies. They're going to look at ups and downs in your labor market where you may have had times of layoff, but you still had H-1Bs. They're going to be looking at the labor certification applications that individuals are filing, because oftentimes companies don't really even look at that. That's done by the attorney, and you don't really see a lot of that. They're going to be looking at those job postings to see what that looks like. If you're posting a job that says, hey, this job pays $150,000 a year, but then you're hiring people for $200,000, that's going to be a problem. If you are not meeting the requirements of that H-1B visa with respect to how you are paying the individual once they get into your system, how you're maintaining the workplace, those are all issues that are going to be audited. One thing that I've seen with a lot of H employers, both the H-1s and the H-2s, is once someone is in the system and working, and there could be people here on H-1s for 10, 15 years, things get a little loose. They may be working in a different plant, or they may be working in a different facility, and it's nobody really is following up on it. You're going to have to follow up on all those things now. You're going to have to make sure that those H-1Bs, those renewals are accurate and correct. The labor certifications are accurate and correct. The pay scales are accurate and correct. You've done the job postings, and all of that is accurate and correct, because the difference with DOL is they have the authority to do criminal penalties, and that can be a real problem.
Yeah, and especially it kind of goes back to, like you said, like the data mining. If they were aware that, hey, when this H-1B individual came in, 10 years ago, they were working over here and getting a W-2 or 1099 over here, and then all of a sudden it's coming from this address, and when we Google it, or they appear to be different, now they're going to have that data and that opportunity to really circle in on those individuals and start doing some investigations.
Yeah, and if you've got an H-1B employee that's assigned to your facility in Los Angeles, but they're routinely posting pictures of them at their house in South Carolina, that's going to show up in the social media. And if they're data mining that, which I suspect that they are, that's going to create problems for you.
Well, it was great to have you on the episode. Thank you again, Robert. The insight you've had is invaluable to our listeners. And I think we're going to have you on again once more of this guidance is issued and we continue to navigate this ever-changing landscape.
Anytime. It's fun to talk about. Not fun to be a part of, but it's fun to talk about.
It is fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Robert. I appreciate it. Thank you again for sticking around for that interview, and many thanks to Robert Ratliff for the valuable insight that he was able to give to the changes in immigration law, the impacts that are coming, including the changes to the H-1B visa as a result of that surcharge for employers. We look forward to having Robert on again as more changes and guidance are issued from the federal administration. Until then, don't forget to subscribe down below so you don't miss any updates. We'll see you again next time.